price of Bitcoin to get rich, because I don't think it's that difficult to do, and I'd like to share just my framework with it, how I come up with this complex algorithm. And if that sounds good, hit the like button, pull up a stool, and we'll have to crack for a few minutes. Guys, welcome to Bitcoin with Dinny. It's Dinny here. I always say at the start of my videos, beware of scammers. Just be careful. People are impersonating me all the time, and they'll try and trick you into sending them your money, so don't do that. You see, we ran a competition last week, okay? And in our competitions, and this is generally in most real competitions, when you win the prize, you just get the prize. You don't have to send money to get the prize, okay? So that is a clue. If you win a competition, you have to pay to get the prize. That's probably a scam, okay? In our competition, the winner just got the prize, okay? So just be aware of that, or offering to trade your money for you, any of this nonsense, okay? And remember, everything here in this channel, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, okay? Just a Bitcoiner, someone who likes to share the love and try and teach people about the fiat system and about this alternative system that's been built over the last 13 years, and it's not built on debt, it's built on collateral. And it's very exciting system, something that I'm very bullish on. Anyway, while the lads are hopping in there, remember your daily exercise. Okay, daily exercise just means hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, become part of the community. And if you like the content, well, push it out to other people, tag people, share it, whatever you got to do. I'm sure there's a button to do something. Do something! Who was I talking to? Oh yeah. I was on Mark's podcast today, the Clockwork Junkie, and he was saying, you're mad, like, you just burst into laughter, laughing at yourself sometimes. Doesn't everyone do that? Anyway, what dictates the price of something? I have a question for you guys. I'm going to leave you there at it with this. What dictates the price of something? Okay, what dictates the price of something? Anything. Slice of bread, whatever. What dictates the price of anything that any of us want to buy on planet Earth? It's a pretty simple formula, and that's what I use so I can predict the price of Bitcoin. So if anyone knows in the comments, type it in there. Let's see if you figure it out. Demand. Who's that? Scotty Dinky. Donuts. Demand. Yeah. But there's another side of that. You're halfway there. You're halfway there. So well done. That's awesome. I'll give you the answer. Okay. What dictates the price of anything is simply the supply and the demand. And the price is found somewhere in the middle, depending on those two variables. And that's it. That's it. That's where the price of everything comes from. Okay. And how I'm able to predict the price of Bitcoin to get rich is because with Bitcoin, the supply, okay, is known. We know what the supply of Bitcoin is into the future. Okay. So of the two variables, we've taken away 50% of the uncertainty because it is a known supply. The supply is known. It's set in stone and it can't change. All right. And then as an investor, that gives you a serious heads up. Okay. It's not like most other things you're trying to invest into where you're trying to figure out, you're trying to guess what the supply is going to be like. Okay. Whereas we know what the supply is going to be like. With Bitcoin, all we got to figure out is the demand. All right. And again, I think that's pretty clear cut. It's pretty Robert's crack. It's pretty obvious what the demand is going to be like. So I think the best way to teach people about Bitcoin, I've got my toilet roll in my hand. I had this on the podcast. You can check out the podcast next Monday on Clockwork Junkie. But if you teach people about the fiat system, the system that we live in, euros, dollars, sterling, whatever you use, okay, if you teach people about that system, and when people learn the rules of that system, they realize how that system has screwed them over for their whole life, and it's very hard to get ahead, okay? I won't spoil the toilet paper analogy. You can go and check the podcast. I just had to show it in case it's in a shot. People are like, why has he got a toilet roll in his office? Okay, so once we learn about the fiat system, we can see, I shared on my Instagram story, shameless plug, if you're not on my Instagram, jump on, Bitcoin with Dinny. You'll get the amazing stories. You get to see me go walking on the beach and tweeting and stuff. I had a good tweet today. Sometimes I do a good tweet. Today's tweet was, I had a picture of me on the beach and I said, the goal is not to own things. The goal is to own your own time. And that is the goal. My goal anyway. Maybe your goal is to own things. My goal was to own my own time, and now I do that, so it's great. Okay, so with the fiat system, I also shared the digital euro that's coming. So even Amazon are pitching to create the digital euro. There's 5 companies now working on it. So as I keep telling people, this is coming. It's not conspiracy. It's going to happen. Your cash will be illegal to use in a period of time. I don't know how long. I don't have a timeline for it, but your cash will be made illegal. Dinny, that'll never happen. Well, it will happen. Is there anyone walking around with punts in their hands still trading them? Remember the punt when we went to the euro? No, literally overnight that thing became illegal. It became useless. And that's as easy as things change. Laws change, and that's it. Your world changes if you're not ready for it. So it's important to be ahead of the curve and see what's coming and position yourself, because it's not doom and gloom. There's such huge opportunity here by you getting your head around this stuff early, okay? And you know, maybe sometimes I'm guilty of being over bullish, but I think it's as plain as the nose in your face that if you position yourself right, there's no reason why anyone watching this needs to work in a decade's time. Even with quite a conservative strategy, you should be able to get the job done because of the opportunity that's in front of us all. So what we know is we know the supply of Bitcoin, we don't know the demand, okay? We know that we're going to be pushed into digital government money, which would be called a digital euro or a digital dollar or a digital sterling. And in China, they have the digital yuan. Now, the problem with that money is it's not money you can own, okay? So you can't take ownership on it. It'll just sit on some device like that you're holding or you're watching me on. It'll sit on that device, but you can never take it out of the device and have it in your house. So really you don't own it. It's permissioned money. It'll only work, you can never hold it in your hand or really own it, okay? And it's money that you can't spend, because that money will come with terms and conditions, and you can only buy what is allowed to be purchased at the time. So your money will have some sort of, you know, terms and conditions on it. Oh no, you can't buy 2 steaks this week, Dinny. We've got the cows farting and all this. We got some crickets here. You can buy loads of crickets if you want. You know, but you won't be able to buy a steak, okay? And the people in China are also finding that their money now, it's come with an expiry date. So they can't save. You can't build up and save. And it just means you're going to always have to be reliant on whoever's in charge of that money, okay? And that's terrible, like, because for years humans have been able to save. That's what money is. Money is human time, okay? Money is just, if I break down money, I have to describe it in one word, I'd say money is time. And if I have to get a sentence or two, I'll say money is a vehicle to store human time, okay? So it's the ability to save, and humans have always had, like, that's what separates us from, being barbaric to being civilized, is having money, okay? Having the ability to save. That's why I think this whole experiment, even if we go down this route, it's going to blow up in their face, but it's going to cause a lot of carnage in the meantime. And that's why I'm giving myself 2 options, okay? It's always good to have options. As investors, you want to be diversified in multiple outcomes. And I've positioned myself in the exact same situation with how money seems to be trending over the next 10 years. We're going to go cashless. We're going to go into government digital money, and that's communism on a blockchain. And that's going to be, it's going to come with a lot of problems. How they work it out, I don't know. But so that's the alternative, all right? So when I look at Bitcoin being the opposite to all that, I go, okay, will the demand for money that I can own, money that I can spend permissionlessly, okay, and I forgot to mention this, money with a fixed supply, will that increase when the alternative is money that you can't own, money that will have censorship and terms and conditions and everything you do with it, and money whose supply is unknown, in that it can just be created digitally out of nowhere, okay? So it's pretty simple stuff. My speculation is that the demand for money you can own, money that you can spend, and money that has a hard cap supply is going to increase. All right, why is it going to increase? Well, because it's the money that's going up in value, and the other thing is the money that's going down in value. All right, and I'll give you a really simple analogy here. Okay, and I kind of make fun of myself on that. Guys, few of you are lurkers and not likers. Come on, do your daily exercise there. See those guns? All right, I'm going to get to the Bitcoin price now in a second. Okay. But we do appreciate a good like. Bitcoin is a no-brainer once you do the work, Lawrence. It's programmable money called the CBDC. Wake up, people. Lawrence is telling you to wake up. Lawrence has done his homework. Noel is on. Hello, Noel. What's crack? Good crew on Instagram. Instagrammers, if you like it, make sure you show a bit of love and hit the like, hit the share, hit the comment, and I'll be sure to do a bit more on the Instagram platform. Now, where was I with all my waffles? Okay, so my speculation is that the demand for Bitcoin is going to increase. Okay, now remember, supply and demand are the only 2 things that dictate the price of something. We know what the supply of Bitcoin is going to be. It's getting exponentially smaller every 4 years. My speculation is that the demand continues to increase. I'll give you my story. Sorry, I remember it now. Sometimes I forget what I'm saying here on the lives. I drive around in my flashy blue car, okay? Cruising along there, thinking I'm the great lad, all right? And people be looking at me going, look at this fucking idiot. All right, here he is going on about the fucking Bitcoin. He never shuts up about them, okay? And we're bleeding sick of him. But some people will get it, okay? And day two will start to save in hard money, okay? And day two will be driving around in some flashy ass car in a couple of years' time. And day two will be saying, lads, I figured the game out. That other game's a scam. It's stealing our time my whole life. This other game's much better. I'm saving in a money that's going up in value. It's making me have more time. That's why you see me Instagram stories. I'm out on the beach walking, this is what they'll be saying. And people be scratching their head and go, first we had that other kick in this blue car a few years ago. And now we've got all these other lads. And what are they doing? They're telling us what they're doing. They're saying, as Lauren says, do the work. Figure this technology out. Life will get better for you. Okay? And people will ignore it. But eventually, I'm not doing nothing that any pleb can't do. I'm not a brain surgeon. If I was a brain surgeon, you'd be able to go, well, he's obviously very clever because he can work on brains. No. So everyone can do it. And it's just going to take time for people to capitulate, okay, and see other people who are doing it and life gets better for them. And eventually go, Bitcoin's digital, I don't trust it, and all the other FUD. It's bad for the environment, I want to eat bugs, and whatever other stuff they're going to say. Okay, government's going to ban it. That card is so long gone. Can't you see what's happening in America? Pensions own Bitcoin. I don't think they'd allow that to happen. Okay, so all this other nonsense, as Lauren says, do the work for yourself, and you come with the conclusion that it's a foregone conclusion. It's an inevitability. It's predictable that Bitcoin's going to continue its success. Investing into Bitcoin today is so much less risky than investing into Bitcoin 3 years ago, and investing into Bitcoin 6 years ago was 10 times riskier than investing into Bitcoin 3 years ago. Okay, so the risk is just being de-risked with every day, month, and year. Okay, so the demand is obviously increasing. We're seeing that throughout the world. In Ireland, we don't have inflation too bad. It's only 10%. Okay, you only lose half your wealth in a decade. But compared to other parts of the world where they have it much worse, they get Bitcoin in 5 minutes. Okay, they really get it. And and all fiat currencies, if you understand fiat currencies, which is the money we use, money is backed by nothing. Unlike Bitcoin, backed by energy. Unlike gold coin, backed by energy. Can't be created out of fresh air. Okay, it costs a lot of money to make that coin. It costs 4 times as much to mine gold as it does to mine Bitcoin, which is kind of funny because there's a lot of FUD about Bitcoin bad for the environment, but gold is 4 times dirtier, and no one has a problem with that. Or maybe Christmas tree lights, okay, or turning on your washing machine. Why don't you go and get one of them rollers like the good old days our grandparents used to do and roll your clothes outside, and don't be using that washing machine, okay? So, energy use is subjective. It's not the energy that you use, it's how you generate it, I suppose, is what's important. What about the crashes? How do I predict Bitcoin crashes and know when Bitcoin's going to crash? Well, the honest answer is, in the short term, I don't know. I really don't. And no one really does. And some people will say they do, and sometimes they're right, and then they're flavour of the month, and then 2 years later their predictions are all wrong, and they're not flavour of the month, but someone else who guessed and got it right at that particular time is now flavour of the month. And you'll see that on YouTube. With various traders will come and go and they'll be flavours of the month. But the honest answer is it's really difficult to predict the short-term movements in the price of Bitcoin. But as I say, it's quite easy to look at the longer-term price prediction and movements of Bitcoin. The supply is going down, the demand is going up. Baby, you don't got to be a genius to realise that this thing is probably getting more valuable as time goes on. Okay, but short-term crashes, again, how do we predict them? Well, all we can look at is supply and demand. And when I'm looking at what's going on in our whole space right now in our ecosystem, well, I'm seeing that because of QT, quantitative tightening, that they're not printing as much money. Basically, what we have to do now is we have an inflation problem. So come in there, we'll talk to you about inflation. All right, we have an inflation problem because we closed the world for 3 years. I heard a stat today, and I hope to God it's not true, but I heard that during the cerveza sickness, I still better not mention it because whatever, but during the cerveza sickness, there was more people topping themselves than there was dropping dead of cerveza sickness. Now, if that is the case, heads have to roll, okay? Because I was saying that, and it infuriates me, But I hope that's not the case, but I heard it was, and it'd be interesting to see the data. I want to see the figures, the stats from the Central Statistics Office, because that's pure insanity. But anyway, I digress. This is why you can't leave it up to anyone else, and you got to look after yourself and do your own thinking. Don't outsource your thinking like a lot of people do. It's bad news. Anyway, move on from that, because that can get me really angry. So we know that what we got to do now with inflation is we got to bankrupt some people. Okay, basically what we've done is we use fractional reserve lending so people could get debt to buy mortgage. But when you understand the fiat system, like, the money never existed. There was no collateral. It was just debt. Okay, but basically, so we got people to buy houses. Now we're going to raise interest rates so they can't afford them, and we're going to bankrupt them. And what's the bank going to get? The bank basically lent them air, okay, through fractional reserve banking. It lent them air, all right? And now when they default on it, it gets a hard asset. It's getting a house. What a system. What a system, huh? What a game they play. Okay, but basically what we have to do is we've got to bankrupt people. A lot of people have to go bankrupt, all right? We got to slow it down. So people can't afford stuff. People can't afford houses. People can't afford to start businesses. People can't afford to buy food. People can't afford their electricity. All right, we've got to bankrupt a lot of people to curb this inflation problem, okay? And once that's achieved, happy days, okay? But fortunately, if you're on the wrong side of that, it's going to be really painful, really bad for you. So there's not as much easy money out there to be dumped into risk assets like Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin's not a risk asset. This is how early we are. It's the total opposite of a risk asset, but it's acting like a risk asset. So that's the huge opportunity for people who are thinking in 5 years and 10 years, as opposed to thinking, I want to get rich this year. Okay, so zoom out. The next thing is, well, what about the supply? We have Mt. Gox Bitcoins coming to market. We have Celsius potentially. I was an investor in Celsius. It's a massive mess. The CEO seemed to be representing the risk models and what they've done with the company, and it's an absolute mess, and he won't get out of the way. So Voyager had a bankruptcy. The team got out of the way. It got solved, and we had sort of a bailout from within crypto to fix the problem. But within Celsius, it seems that the CEO is getting in the way, and he's, only my opinion, but possibly not competent anymore. And if he continues, it looks like they will move from Chapter 11 bankruptcy to Chapter 7. Chapter 7 means all the assets will be sold. Is now a good time to sell Bitcoin? Hell no. Who wants to sell into a bear market? You're meant to buy low, sell high, not buy high, sell low. So that would cause, again, it's all about supply and demand, baby. Okay, so if we've more supply starting to come in, and we have easy money is gone, okay, now we have a problem. And this is why we're in this bear market. It's going to last a while. And if Celsius moves into Chapter 7 and they sell the assets, that's going to really, it has potential to take this market down another big notch. So just prepare for it. If you're not prepared for the crashes, you shouldn't be prepared for the booms, because Bitcoin and crypto is like this, and that's why you use sound investing fundamentals and principles to protect yourself, because this is a volatile market and you can't just be here for the good times and not understand that there's bad times. However, in hindsight, okay, or aside from that, the bad times where you get rich. Okay, read any wealthy investors' books who are multimillionaires, billionaires, whatever. When did they do it? They bought something, or they built something when no one else wanted to do it, because everyone thought it was the wrong thing to do. It's as simple as that. Okay, so here we are in the bear market, and Bitcoin has been declared dead for the 400 and something time. 400 and something! Like, some people, I'm not the smartest knife in the drawer, lads, but it doesn't take me over 400 times to get something that is probably not dead. But for some people, they seem to struggle with this. It's like, oh no, this time it's dead. It's dead. All right, anyone who's done the work, as Lawrence says, understands Bitcoin is not dead. And this is just an amazing opportunity. So what we have now, short term, no one knows. But I believe that when we look back on this, guys, hit the like button if you are enjoying this content, and support the channel, help the algorithm push it out. But generally, Dinny talks about stuff that shouldn't be pushed out, so we rely on the community to try and help get the message out there. But I believe that when we're going to look back at this, we're going to see this period, okay, 20k Bitcoin, whatever we go down to, all right, 5-10 years, we'll be looking at this period going, how did they not get it? How did they not figure that out? Sure, there was public companies buying it. and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out that all that was just market manipulation to squeeze them out of their coins and allow institutions to scoop them up, because they're not buying a Bitcoin. They're not buying a quarter of a Bitcoin. They're not buying 0.1 of a Bitcoin. Sailor just bought 300 there. Okay? They buy a lot. They're scooping up. They're big whales, alright? Don't let the whales have all the Bitcoin. Don't look after yourself. But I do believe this is going to be looked back on one of the biggest opportunities. And it'll be so obvious. I mean, hindsight's 2020. It is. Hindsight is 2020. And unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of hindsight. Today, we only have the present, and we're just trying to figure out the future. But I do believe that in 5 years, 10 years, it's going to be like, how did I not get that? What an opportunity. And anyone, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, anyone who takes the opportunity, I believe there'll be no reason why you shouldn't have your retirement sorted in a decade, even if it's a conservative plan. Because the demand for Bitcoin is only going up. Things being built on Bitcoin are only going up. I haven't even mentioned crypto. Yes, there's opportunities to get rich there as well, but they come with a much larger degree of risk. We can teach about all that on any of our courses, Retire Early Club, or any of my consulting. Anyway, the goal is not to own things. The goal is to own your time, okay? And you need to be an investor to be able to build up an asset portfolio so you can buy your time back. Anyway, guys, it's been great to chat to you this evening. If you got some value out of the video, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, subscribe, become part of the community, and I look forward to chatting to you soon. Dinny out. Boom. Boom.